Now we're going to move on to some remarkable stories. I love the way, Mr. Chairman, you told stories a while ago. Y'all have heard some good ones today, but I don't know that many rival these. Life-saving awards. The award recipients, by the way, I'm going to ask you to remain standing on the stage until all the awards are presented. So once you come up here, if you will, stay. The life-saving awards, quite obviously the name depicts what it is. It was established to recognize those EMC employees who responded, who acted when opportunity presented itself to put a good nature, a caring spirit, and training into use with courage and skill. And in each of these cases, these people were instrumental in rescuing someone from grave danger, immediate danger, and potentially death. And we are proud to recognize 7 recipients representing 3 different EMCs for their acts of heroism. Now, and as I call your name, I'll call one at a time. First of all, I want to call up Chuck Wood, if you would please, sir. Chuck works for Heart EMC. Go ahead and pound your hands together real quick. Now y'all get comfortable for a minute, because Chuck, I'm going to ask you to stay here with me. This is a remarkable man. I mentioned he works for Heart. He was heading home from work one day, and he saw an approaching vehicle try to pass another vehicle coming his way. Well, Chuck recognized, close as it was, he was going to have to get out of the way. So he took evasive action. He steered his truck off the shoulder of the road. Otherwise, it would have been a head-on collision. He managed to get his truck stopped safely on his side of the road, off in the dirt. But once he stopped, immediately, he saw what happened. The driver of the car, who was attempting that imprudent and unsafe pass, lost control. And that car rolled over. Well, the first thing, Chuck grabbed the radio and he hollered for Heart EMC dispatcher. Y'all call EMS, get them out here right now, I got a bad situation. And then he jumped out and hustled over to the wrecked car, and there it was, upside down, smoking, steaming, hissing. And the driver was a young woman, and she's literally hanging upside down, held in place by her seatbelt. She was having trouble breathing, and intermittently, while our friend here tried to communicate with her, she'd black out and come back. He had to get her out of there. He freed her from her seatbelt, and then he gently eased her down and got her out of the car, stayed with her, kept her calm until the paramedics arrived and were able to take care of her and her immediate needs and get her the health care she needed. Chuck, you are definitely deserving of this award, a life-saving award. Chuck Wood, Heart EMC. We invite someone else up to the stage to join Chuck now. Glenn Bassett, where are you? Come on up here. I don't know, Glenn, I wanted to see him. You're from around our neck of the woods too, pretty close. Glenn's a line superintendent with Planters EMC. Now it was dark and he was driving to work. A lot of y'all go to work before daylight, even before the time change. He came up on a wreck at the intersection of Georgia 23 and the Millen Bypass up in Jenkins County. Little old pickup truck had run into a tanker full of diesel fuel. And the 18-wheeler, the little truck rolled over. The driver, sad to say, and the little truck was thrown out, and the truck rolled over on him, and there was nothing that could be done for that individual. But Glenn, when he's confronted with that awful, obvious situation right there in front of him, then had to deal with something else. He saw that the fuel truck had also turned over, and the diesel fuel was pouring out in the ditch. The driver was wedged underneath the dash. He heard somebody say, "Come help me, come help me." And by the time he found him, he saw him wedged underneath that dash. And once Glenn got to him and assessed the situation, he was able to safely remove that driver. Most of the time, he was standing there ankle deep in diesel fuel. But thanks to Glenn's bravery and heroism, the fuel truck driver did survive, suffered only a broken arm, and is now fully recovered. Glenn Bassett, we thank you. Now we're fixing to bring a bunch of people up on the stage. First off, let's get Guy Williams up here to give out, to help giving out the awards for snapping shows. And then from snapping shows, we want to have Bonnie Ellington, Donnie Hopkins, Eddie Sweat, Penny Batchelor, Doug Jarrett, and anybody who's left from down yonder. Just come on up on the stage. Where's Bonnie? That's you right there? All right, we're going to start with Bonnie. You were coming out of the break room, right?
Sort of.
Yeah, all right. She was coming out of there when she heard this unusual noise coming from, we'll call it the clinic across the hall. She went to see what it was, and she found Guy Williams, a fellow employee, had collapsed on the clinic floor and was struggling to breathe. Now, Bonnie ran over to dispatch to get help and have them to call 911. And then Donnie, Penny, and Eddie were in the dispatch center, and they immediately responded along with Bonnie and Doug, who was out in the hallway. They weren't gone long, but when they got back in there, literally only seconds later, Guy was unconscious, he was unresponsive. They, having been trained to do so, started CPR. And then they hooked up and administered the shock from the AED. And they continued to monitor Guy and perform CPR as needed until the paramedics got there. And the EMTs soon determined what we all suspicion from what I've said so far: heart attack. And they rushed him to the hospital. But because of the quick actions of Bonnie, Donnie, Eddie, Penny, and Doug, and their skillful application of CPR and first aid training, Guy made it and is here to thank them along with us. They saved the life of a fellow employee and friend. Which one is Guy? You appreciate him, don't you? That's amazing, and it shows to go you too. You don't necessarily have to fit into a demographic category where you would be suspected of a heart attack. If I looked at this crowd up here, you might be near about the last one I would suspect of the heart attack. So you got to be ready and react whenever it happens. Ladies and gentlemen, all of these people merit your thanks once more.